what we had in the ninth inning in the Dodgers-Brewers Game 1, bottom of the ninth inning, was one, as cliche as you can ever be, and two, as interesting as you can ever be. Because there's a bunch of layers to it. Blake Snell faced 24 batters through 8 innings. That's the fewest batters you can face. The only player he allowed a hit to, he picked off at first base. Amazing stuff. Blake Snell, that's the guy who pitched the exact same way against the Dodgers in the World Series going back to the COVID World Series. Right? So it shouldn't be a surprise that in the biggest game yet of the season for the Dodgers, the guy who'd been the best big game starter on the Dodgers roster would pitch that well. But he did so 103 pitches through 8 innings, and they decide to pull him. Now, in fairness, the Brewers starting pitcher got pulled probably too early as well. The difference is he wasn't up 2-0. The difference is the Brewers, we would think, have a better bullpen or more consistent bullpen than the Dodgers, based not just upon the regular season, but what we've seen so far in the postseason. And the difference is they didn't have a guy going through 8 innings, 1 hit allowed, facing the minimum batters, only 103 pitches thrown. Now, it stands without reason that because they allowed a run and because they loaded up the bases, and if the Brewers, step in instead of step out of the next to last pitch, it's at least going to the 10th inning and very likely going to be ended shortly thereafter. That right now you're sitting there going, well, yeah, Blake Snell should have gone out there for the 9th inning. But I'm not talking about result. I did this podcast, which is up. It's my own podcast for it's basketball, but we do really life stories, and it's called All Ball. And I did it with a man named Don Yeager. Don Yeager is, I think he's had, this is 13th New York Times bestseller. Tremendous writer. And Don's new book is The Science of Momentum. And in the interview, we talk about it. We talked about, hey, how do you combat the analytics community that doesn't really have time for momentum? They just deal with data points. Right? And the data points would tell you, yeah, you got to take Blake Snell out. 103 pitches. You got Sasaki you're going to bring in. He's been great. This is a no-brainer. The problem with it is that it doesn't bring in the reality of momentum, the science of momentum. In that it wasn't just that Blake Snell had gotten through 9 innings or 8 innings, or that he had allowed 1 hit. The only hit was he picked the dude off. So those guys were devastated by what they were seeing. Plus, he's left-handed, so though you'd probably take him out, if he did put a runner on base, you might want to make it like, well, only if it gets to second base, because you're not going to run on Blake Snell. Whereas Sasaki, you can run like crazy on him. He doesn't even look over and throw to first base. I think that the main point is here we are again with a very obvious leave a guy in. He is rolling. Rolling. And also keep in mind, if you face 24 up, 24 down, what part of the lineup are you facing? Jay Stu? What part of the lineup are you facing if it's hitters 25, 26, and 27?
The math says 7, 8, 9 in the ninth. 7, 8, 9.
Right.
Yeah.
So, again, you're very likely to see pinch hitters. I understand. But in the moment, Jay Stu, I know you texted us in the moment. Buyer, I don't know what you thought in the moment. I did think in the moment, boy, are we really going? You're going to a rookie here? Really going to go to a rookie? Like, don't you just let him hit? No one was hitting him. It's not like Kershaw in Game 3, where Kershaw got out of the 7th inning, but they were teeing off on him. And anybody with a brain could say he didn't have his stuff. Blake Snell, nobody was hitting anything. The curveball was still giving everybody difficulties. Buyer, in the moment, did you think they should go to the pen?
I don't know the Dodgers well enough to understand all of their moves. I wasn't as shocked, especially with Snell over 100 pitches. I was not as shocked that they went to the bullpen as maybe some others would be.
So then you get to the other part to the ninth inning, Dan and Jason and Sam. It's Doug Gottlieb Show on Fox Sports Radio. It's like cliche, right? You bring in a closer. In this case, this is basically his first big opportunity, right? He'd been good before, but like he's a rookie, and I may be overselling it because, like you, Dan Byer, I haven't watched every game the Dodgers have played. I've watched their playoff games. I've watched some of their end of season games. I've watched games periodically. Does he usually sweat that much? Because he had the forehead and it was dripping. Now, American Family Field it can get hot in there when the dome is closed, but he was sweating. And then, cliche to all cliches, you could see he was tight and he was struggling to find the strike zone, and he walks the first hitter. And anybody who watches baseball is like, oh, I know what's coming next. He walked the first hitter. Something bad's going to happen. It is as close to the horror movie when some nondescript person shows up and is a big mouth, is loud, is sarcastic in the first scene of a horror movie, and is not a main character. You're like, that person's going to die. Right? That's what you think when you got the rookie closer comes out there. He's sweating, and then he walks the first hitter. You're like, oh, boy. It was the second hitter he walked? That's my mistake. He looked so nervous. And then you have bases loaded. It brings Blake Trinan in, and Jay Stu, you had to be losing your mind because you're texting me like, oh, blank, only you didn't text blank. But this is the last guy you wanted to have the ball, and technically he comes in and saves the day, but he should have hit him on the next to last pitch. I mean, that was an amazing watch, and even for somebody who doesn't have, I don't have I can't sit there and say I love the Dodgers. And I've lived in Wisconsin. I was a Brewer fan when I was a little kid, and I moved away. And I love going to games, but I can't say that I love the Brewers or I know the Brewers that well. But what I can tell you is, could have stepped in and taken one for the team. Could have stepped in and taken one for the team. And then the next pitch, he chases it high, which my belief is this. Okay, my belief is the reason he chased it high it was Turang, right? Turang chased it high?
Correct, yep.
Right. It was Alex Call who flied out to right field. That was the first hitter, right? He's a Wisconsin kid. Okay.
No, Durbin was the first guy. Was the first out.
Oh, okay.
Alex Call's on the Dodgers.
My bad. I'm screwed up here. I got it written down in some notes. So Durbin pops out to third. Collins walks. Jake Bauers comes in to hit for Ortiz. Bauers doubles to left center. Like, oh boy, now they're hitting him, and it was because that one had no movement late. They worked their way to bases loaded, 2-1 game, Trinan in, and Turang, the ball should have hit him on the previous pitch. Like, it's inside, and I get it. I heard him afterwards. It's just instinct. But I'd have to think that the reason he swung at a ball that was over his head was because, again, it's the human nature factor. And human nature is, damn it, I should have stepped into one. And you're so anxious after missing an opportunity to take a base that the next thing you see that's close, you swing, and then you miss. And my point is, you're like, what's the point? My point is that this is not me saying analytics don't have a place. I use them. We talk about them. It's smart to use all these data points. But between the fact that you probably shouldn't have taken out Snell, not just because he's mowing him down, because he's pitched in that level of baseball game before, you probably should have factored in that Sasaki is new to this. And then you have Turang, should have stepped into one, and instead swings the ball over his head. All of those things are human nature. Because if you go by the numbers, by the data, Okay, by the data, it says that, of course, you go bring in Sasaki. And he gets you out this many times in 10. And this is how it works. But you had to pull Sasaki because he was just too nervous. He could not locate at all. 22 pitches, only 10 were strikes. And you go with a guy who had been there before, and he survives. And I think Turang is another. It's more about human nature than it is about him swinging at a ball over his head.